Hello students, myself Kushal Singh, and we are coming with the second lecture. In the first lecture we have seen the introduction to the Python programming. Now in this, the second lecture, we are going to see the variables and the data types in Python programming. So in the previous lecture I have told you about that whenever we are going to declare a variable must be declared in the three parts: the variable name followed by assigning operator followed by the value. So here you can say it's a name and it's a data, that is 10. Similarly, rest of the things you can see in the y and the z. So these are the names and these are the datas. Now you can see in the next example here x equal to 10 and y is equal to portal. Now one more thing is the data type, because once the variable name is there, the next thing is data type must be there. So you can see here this 10 value is considered as an integer type. Similarly, this portal is considered as a string type data. So that means there are various data types are available in the Python, and we will look into it. You can see when we are running or we are assigning the variables x is equal to 10, the variable is assigned and you can see the output as 10, portal and Kushal Singh, because we have declared the three variables, that is x, y, z, and they have particular data and the data is available in the output. This window is your output screen. Now whenever we are dealing with the variables, the one thing is very important, the name of the variable, because it follows some rules. Just like in many cultures there are some traditions related to the naming of babies. Similarly, here you can see whenever we are dealing with the variables in Python programming, the naming rules are there. Before that, you can see the names can be short. You can write the names as a little bit long, like Manish, Ravi, Katie, and you can see it can be more descriptive, just like the total areas or net talk. That means we can define the variables more descriptive. Now we are going to see some rules. Now these rules must be followed in order to create a variable. The very first rule, now it's a green, that means it must be followed. You can see this start with the alphabet or underscore. That means whenever you are dealing with the name of a variable, the very first starting point of that variable name must be a alphabet, or you can use the underscore as a starting point, but you cannot start with number. That means you cannot put 1x, this is wrong, but you can put x or underscore. Next rule is that the special characters are not allowed. In the special characters, we generally talk of the characters other than the alphabets and numbers. Just like the most of the symbols you can see in the like plus, multiply, brackets and so on. So these types are considered as special characters. The special characters must not be included in the variable name. The next thing is your variable name can be alphanumeric, but it must follow the first rule. That means the variable must start its name from the alphabet or underscore. After that, you can make it alphanumeric. The next thing is you can use the underscore. This underscore is a special character and the exception to the rule number 3. The last thing is the case sensitive. The case sensitive says that if you have small a, small b as a variable name, this small a b is taken as a variable name because it is following the rules, but this person cannot be equal to capital A, small b. These two entities are different because small a and capital A are two different things in programming. Now you can see we have run some variable names on the program, and we find out that in first one you can see the output x is equal to 10 and underscore x equal to 10. That means, in the first rule you have seen the variable can start with the alphabet and it can also start with the underscore. In the second one, here you can see that you cannot start the variable name by a number, otherwise it will considered as invalid syntax. In the third one, you can see we are putting the special character plus, and here again there is some sort of error. So, these are following some rules. These rules must be there in order to define a variable name. Now, next thing, now here you can see it is alphanumeric, but it starts with the alphabet. After that it can be alphanumeric like xy1, x1, y. Similarly, in this you can see here xy underscore 1, x underscore 1 y. So, these are the valid variable names, and the last one you can see here about the case sensitive. Small xy has a value 10, capital XY has a value quotient, and we are trying to print capital XY and we are just getting quotient, not small xy, that is 10. That means, these things are case sensitive. What's more is, if you are going to try something else like small x capital Y, now here there is no definition of these variables. So, it is directly going to give you again the name error because the xy is not defined. Now, it's a little bit exercise to students to find out the legal and the illegal variable names. This is some examples, and here you will identify what are the variable names which are valid and which are not valid. The solution of that one is that 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11, 16. These numbers are valid variable names, whereas rest of is illegal or it is not valid. Here you can see the number is the starting point. Here you can see the special character. Again the special character is there. Now, here this special character is introduced in the variable name. Here again the special character, special character, special character. Now, this space is also considered as a special character. So, here you can see the space is there, the space is taken as a special character, and it is again the violations of the rules that the special characters cannot be introduced in the variables. Similarly, you can see the special characters, and the last one is also. So, this is how we identify the valid variable names and not valid variable names. Now, look at the next thing. When we are declaring multiple variables, we can define the variables, every variable in every line, but let us see we want to define the variables in multiple lines or multiple variables in one line. So, here you can see that we can define the multiple variables in one line. So, this is how the code in the Python is very simple, because it makes the things very simple. So, here you can see the x, y, z, that means the separation of the variables on the left hand side, that is the variable names will be separated by the comma, and the same fashion will be repeated on the right hand side, that is with the values. So, it is just like a queue in which the first person receives the first thing, the second person receives the second. So, it is just like this, the x will receive the 30, similarly z will receive 72. So, that is how we define a multiple variable in one line in Python. So, now you can see you can define multiple variables in just one line. You just need to put the commas at the both sides and separating the respective variable names with respective data. Next is, now you can also assign the multiple variables which has the same values as one value. For example, x, y, z, these three variables hold the same value. So, you can assign it like this. That means, x equal to y is equal to z is equal to 15, and similarly here a, b, c will receive as value apple. Now, in the programming you can see the programming script window which we have seen in the first lecture. Now, here again we are just typing. Now, look at this thing, very similar to things in the previous slide. X comma y comma z is equal to 30 comma 30 comma 45 comma 72. Similarly, a comma b comma c, that is equal to the atom, ball, cat. That means whatever the things you are seeing in the previous slides, that means these slides, these green codes are generally basically the codes in the Python programming. So, these are the exact codes which will give you the exact output. So, here you can see the codes are same and it is giving you the same output. Here you can see the x value is 30, similarly the c value is cat. That means you can see that on the left hand side we have the coding program software, and on the right hand side you can see the output of that one. This is the output. Similarly, you can see in the multiple line variables, where the multiple variables have the same values. Here you can see that the output of the x, y, z is 5 and the a, b, c is a and t. So, it is just like a validations of the previous slide. Yes, this thing is very, very important, because programmings are like the instructions given to the machines, and those instructions are executed by the machines, not less, not more, 100%. That means, if you are going to give the compiler or the interpreter 2 lines, it will only execute these 2 lines and it will stop after 2, because the machine has 0 IQ. So, similarly, here you can see that whenever you have the desire to take the output of any program, in order to do that you require a statement known as print statement. Sometimes it is also referred with print function. So, in Python, whenever you want to check the output, you should use the print statement, because until and unless you are going to ask the computer or the machine to give me the output, it will not give you the output. So, you must use the print statement. It is one of the good habits in order to see the output. So, here you can see that we have defined the variables x, y, z, a, b, c, and we are trying to use the print statement. In this print statement, we are putting the variable name in the parenthesis. It is very similar to the function. Now, I have introduced a word function. So, in upcoming slides, we are going to see little bit about these functions, but here we are going to see this print function. Similarly, x 125 a comma y comma b comma z comma c. That means, whenever we are going for the multiple outputs, you can use the comma to separate the variables, and then you can see the output of multiple variables. Similarly, in the next example, here you can see that whenever we want more descriptive about the output, you can put it in the quotation mark, like a for, b for. Even you can put plus b, but it is a little bit complication with this statement is this, that it is related to the specific data type only. So, we will discuss in the later session, but what about this red line? This red line shows that this code is not going to run. Why it is not going to run? Let us see, let us check up. Now, in the first example, you have seen that we have declared the variables and we are checking the values by using the print statement, and here the value of the x is given. Similarly, you can see the multiple values are given and 10, bat, 5, cat. But in the second statement or the second example, here you can see this statement is not going to run. Why? Look at this error, it is a type error. Do not go in the classifications of the error, just take it like an error. So, here this thing is saying that the concatenation process of str is not possible with int. Now, what does it means? Now, it is something related with the data types. So, let us see about something related to the data types in Python programming. Now, in Python programming, we have various types of data types, and you can see that the data types in the data types you can see that we are dealing with the various data types. The text data type, numeric data type, sequence data type, mapping data type, set, boolean, and the last one is binary. So, these are the various data types are available in Python. Now, in these data types you can see that there are sub data types. For example, in the text data type it is the string data type. Now, when we are going for the string data type, that means the text data type is there, but in the numeric data type we have 3 data types: the integer, float, complex. So, in numeric we can deal with the 3 sub data types, that is integer, float, complex. Similarly, in the sequence data type you can see list, tuple, range. In the mapping data type you can see only the one, that is the dictionary, but in the set data type you have 2. One is set, the second one is frozen. The frozen means fixed or rigid, that means it cannot be changed. Next is the boolean data type. In the boolean data types we have 2 data types related to the booleans. So, the very first one is the true and the second one is false. You must be very careful with the boolean data type, because the capital T and the capital F for true and false. It is not a small t and small f. The last data type is binary data types, which includes the 3 sub data types: bytes, byte array, and memory view. These 3 data types are almost related to the machine language. You can say it is a more favorable data types towards machine or lower level language. So, you can see the separation of these 3 data types from the rest. These data types, these all data types are considered as a high level data types, but this data type is related to the machines, because generally it deals with the bytes, byte array, and the memory address by using memory view. The last point is very important. If you are not sure what type of data is there, you can use this type function. Now, again I have just introduced the word function. Now, how we are going to use this type data type function, you can see. Now, there are some examples. In these slides you just need to identify the data types. In the first one you can see the quotation mark is there. The identity of the data type is very important. This quotation mark is giving you that this data type is basically string data type. So, you just need to pick up the identities of data types. Similarly, in the 2 you can see this number is equal to 25. 25 is taken as integer. The next one is the 25.067. Now, here the decimal part is there, and in numeric we deals with the float data type, which has this decimal part. So, whenever the number with the decimal part is there, you can say that data is the float numeric data type. Similarly, the next one you can see here 2 plus 0j. This is complex. But one thing is remember here that this j is there. When we are dealing with the complex data type, the I is the imaginary part in mathematics, but in Python programming this j is your imaginary part. Now, you can see the output. In this you can see that we are using this type, but again we are putting this type function inside the print. Why? Because in the previous slide I have told you that this print function is only there to see the output. So, whenever you are interested in the output, you should use the print function. So, we are putting everything inside the print that is going to be displayed. So, here you can see that this data type is string data type, and here you can see the output. It belongs to class str. It referred as that this data type belongs to string or str. Similarly, the next data type here you can see this 25 belongs to the int. The next one is the float, and the last one is the complex. So, By using the type function, you can identify what type of data is available. Now, some more examples related to the data types. Now, in this, the identity is this square bracket. Whenever the data is enclosed in a square bracket, it is treated as list data type. Now, list is a sequence data type. So, here you can see this square bracket is the identity of the list data type. In the next example, this round bracket. Now, in the first and the second, what is the difference? It is a square bracket, the rest the elements are separated by the commas. So, there are 2 points. One thing is the bracket, the type of the fashion of a bracket, and the second one is the separation of the elements by the commas. So, in the first one, the separation of the elements are taking place with the comma, but it is using the square brackets, that is why it is a list. But in the next one, it is using the round brackets. So, here the data type is tuple. So, the list and the tuple, you can see when you are dealing with the square bracket, it says that you are dealing with a list. When you are dealing with the round bracket, it says you are dealing with a tuple. Similarly, in the next one, now it is a curly bracket. What is more, that with this curly bracket, there are elements separated by the colon. So, this type of pairs are referred as key value pairs, and these key value pairs are treated as a part of dictionary. So, you can see the data type related to is this one is dictionary. The shortcut of the dictionary is dict. The next one is the range data type. Now, here you can see the element, it is in the range and belongs to the range data type. It is just like a integer number, you cannot put a float value here. Now, similarly here you can confirm it by running in the program. The codes are similar or almost identical, and you can see you are getting the answer as a class list, class tuple. The range, you can look at the range. That means, the by default it starts with 0 and till 3. These all are integer values, and similarly the last one you can see the class dict. So, it is showing that this belongs to a dictionary or how this dictionary looks like. Rest of the data types, here now the curly bracket is there instead of the round brackets, and the data is separated by commas. It is treated as set. Have you studied in maths? In maths you have seen the set. So, this set is this set, both are identical. In the frozen set, again the same thing is there, but whenever you are going to use frozen, frozen means rigid. You can say it is unchangeable. That means, the data of this one is fixed one, you cannot change this data. So, it is a frozen data. The next one is, now here this B is there. So, the identity for a byte data type is this small b. Small b, capital B, both are there. So, for the time, let us deal with small b. So, this small b is the identity for the bytes data type. And the last one is here, you can see x is equal to true with capital T. It is treated as Boolean data type. We can confirm it by using the programs, and here it is. You can see the first one is set, next one is byte, next one is frozen, and the last one is Boolean. That means, they have the identities to separate. The last two datas, the byte array and the last one is memory wave. Look at it. In this, the byte is taken as an input. We will deal with this memory view in upcoming slides. Till then, just remember that the memory view will deal with this byte data types. Here we are going to confirm it. You can see the byte array, the class is a byte array, it is represented like this one, and similarly the memory address. By memory view you can see the memory address, but it always takes the bytes as an information, and here you can see the data type, that is memory view. Now, you have already familiar with this syntax, that whenever we are dealing with a variable, the variable name followed by the data is basically the syntax, and here you can see ABC equal to 7. Now, you have some idea this 7 is taken as the integer. Here it has some decimal part, so it is taken as float. Since the quotation mark is there, it is treated as string. Since the true is only written with a capital T, you directly write it as boolean. The last one is also a data type, but it is for nothing. This none. This none is a reserved keyword, and this is the last statement which must be added to the rules of the variables, that the reserved keywords cannot be used while naming a variable. So, some of the reserved keywords is like none, true, false. So, you cannot use these variable names while defining a variable. Now, we are going to little bit further. We are going little bit further in the data types. We are starting little bit in details, where the first data type is numeric data type. In numeric data types, we are dealing with the 3 data types. The first one is int, the second is float, the third one is complex. You can see I have already pointed out the property of the integer. The integer can be positive or negative, but without the decimal part. Here you can see the 7 minus 10, just like in mathematics, the 7 and minus 10s are considered as integer. Next one is the float data type. It is also like a positive or negative value, but with decimal part. So, here this point is very important, that whenever you are putting the decimal is there, the data type changes to float. If the decimal part is not there, the data type is considered as integer. Next, the last one, that is the complex number. In Python, this j is treated as imaginary part, and here you can see the data written in the complex 3 plus 0 j minus 10.0 plus 1.2 j. So, here you can see by comparing these two, that the integer or the float values can be taken in the complex data type, whether we are talking of a real value or the imaginary values, the both can be considered. Now, look at this one, it is quite familiar with you, that we are just interested in taking out the types of the data, and you can verify it, it is an integer, float and complex. Thanking you.